You want to get to me, you've got to make my gatekeepers like you.
Jeff Watson.
Guys, you just opened up a floodgate.
When you put a powerful lawyer that everybody looks up to on a podcast with a marketing and a systems genius,
John Cochran.
Investors all across the entire country, they're making massive mistakes right now, and they need a better playbook.
Phil, not ignore.
Every single thing that we deliver in this podcast,
Stay in those strategies. Stay in those strategies.
insider information only.
Stay in those strategies.
Live from Real Estate U and around the globe. This is the Real Estate Investors Playbook.
Step on the gas. Give me the green light, 'cause I'm ready to go. Let's have a good time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 4th episode of the Real Estate Investors Playbook. We are back. Myself, John Cochran, and the Jeff Watson. We are back, and we have some really awesome stuff to talk about on this 4th episode. So, really what we're going to talk about, we've talked a lot about into the past of, a little bit about finding deals, a lot about, investors and playbooks, and, why that's so important to have in your business. And it really all comes down to systems, right? It all comes down to systems and having great systems into your playbook so that you know of how to acquire more deals, how to structure more deals, how to fund more deals, and it's all about systems. Today on this podcast, what we want to talk about is the 2 different ways to wholesale real estate, okay? So, you can totally do both of these, but Jeff and I are so passionate about wholesaling and wholesaling the legal way. When so many investors throughout the entire country, and they really have wholesaling wrong.
Way wrong. Completely, totally, 180 degrees wrong.
So there's 2 different ways that you can go out there and wholesale real estate. So Jeff, why don't you quickly, for everybody that is listening to this right now, why don't you quickly go through just a brief introduction to wholesaling to maybe somebody that is brand new to real estate. They've never even heard about the word wholesaling. They like the concept of it, but what is wholesaling?
Wholesaling is when you acquire a property, either by buying it, taking title to it, becoming the owner of record, or when you get it under contract with a rock-solid, ironclad contract that you have the intent and capacity to perform under, and you pass that deal on to someone else quickly for more money than you bought the house for. So you get it under contract and you buy it for $110,000, $150,000, and you turn around and resell it for $40,000 or $30,000 more, or maybe you assign the contract for $15,000 more. That's it.
So I heard you say 2 different things. I heard you talk a lot about a house.
A house.
Okay, and then I also heard you say the word contract.
Contract, yes.
Those are 2 separate deals.
Well, yeah, but every house has got to be under contract before you can even think about how to wholesale it.
Correct. So for those that are listening to this, wholesaling is basically, so say Jeff has a property under contract right now with a seller for $100,000. Okay, so he's got it under contract for $100,000, and then there's one of 2 things that you could do.
If you're wholesaling it, yes, there's one of 2 things you can do.
You could either take and assign that contract over to me, the rights, the responsibility, the contract that you'd entered into, you could assign to me, another investor. I would assume all of the responsibilities of that contract that you entered into, and you assign that deal to me, or that contract to me, for $130,000. So you would get a $30,000 assignment fee.
Correct.
So you would make $30,000 on that specific deal.
In that scenario, yes.
And then I would go out there and I would probably go and rehab that property, or I'd hold that property, fix it up, hold it as a rental or something else. That is basically wholesaling in a nutshell.
That is one of the 2 ways to wholesale in a nutshell.
So let's go into that one way. Okay, so there's 2 ways.
Right.
You can double close.
But before we go into those 2 ways, I want to make sure we're clear about this. A good wholesaler who's doing it the right way, the legal way, needs to be doing both of these 2 methods that we're going to talk about. Yeah, newsflash there, buddy.
Newsflash. So you can't you shouldn't do just one of these strategies, because it could be frowned upon.
If you're only doing assignments, it will get you in trouble.
It will get you in trouble.
Yes.
So let's go through this. There's two different ways to wholesale real estate. You can do the assignment side, and then you could do the double close. The double close, and there are two very different transactions.
Right.
They're still wholesaling.
Right.
So it's not like you're not wholesaling or anything like that. Let's go through the first one, the assignment.
Okay. Be happy to.
What is take me through on assignment from start to finish. Let's take that same exact deal that you did. $100,000 that you get this property under contract with. Okay.
Okay.
You get this thing under contract. How do you assign this property to me? Like, what is that when you assign this deal to me? Kind of take me through the entire thing.
Okay, to take you through the entire thing, I'm going to back up 2 steps.
Okay.
Let's start with the presumption, because it has to occur, that you got access to the deal. You found, through probably a good relationship that you've developed, a seller that needs to sell, wants to sell, feels they've got to sell, and they're prepared to accept $100,000 for this property, and you know that this property is worth more than $100,000 in its current as-is condition, and you know the property's got more upside if value is added to the property by fixing it up. You got to have that. The second thing you have to have, John, is you have to then have a valid, documented purchase and sales agreement or contract to buy that house.
Okay.
And John, in many future episodes, you and I are going to talk about the elements of a valid contract: intent, capacity, performance, earnest money, language in the contract, no weasel clauses, reasonable due diligence, all of that stuff, man. Dude, we can do hours on that. But you've got a valid, enforceable contract.
Okay.
At that point in time, circumstances in your life and in your business may be such that instead of you actually buying the property, either with your own money or borrowed money, instead of you actually buying the property and taking title to it, someone else has come to you and said, hey, I want that house too. I'm willing to pay as much as $130 for that house. And you look at them and say, great, I will assign to you, I will sell to you my contract.
So you never buy the house?
You don't buy the house. You can sell them the contract. But you remember, you had the capacity, the intent, and the ability to perform and buy it.
Okay.
But someone comes to you and says, you know, I want that house more than I think you do. I want it more than you do. In fact, I'm willing to pay $130 for it. I'm not sure what you're buying it for, but I bet you're getting it for less than $100 or less than $130. I'm willing to give you $130. If I can buy it from you for $130, will you assign your contract to me? Will you let me step into your shoes? Will you let me then complete the performance of the contract? Will you let me then step into your shoes and buy the house so I can do what I want to with it? And you say, sure, here's how we're going to do that. I'm going to create a piece of paper called an assignment, where we assign this contract, where we identify who the seller is, what the address of the property is, the legal description of the property, who the buyer is, and then who the new secondary buyer is, the assignee. I now become the assignor. I'm, as the buyer, now become the assignor, then the assignee becomes the new buyer. And on one piece of paper, page and a half long, we then assign that valid purchase and sales agreement in exchange for the $30,000 assignment fee.
Okay.
Did I lose you?
You didn't lose me, but I have a lot of questions.
Keep them easy, buddy.
Okay, so I have a lot of questions about this, because this is obviously, wholesaling is 70% of our business. Okay,
Got it.
It's
Yeah.
70% of our business. We do a ton of deals, and it's 70% of it. Now, there's a couple of things that I want everybody that is listening to this to, number one, be aware of. The first thing that you said to this was, and we're going to cover this into the next episode in detail, but the first thing that you said is you find a property, you found a seller that needs to sell this property. They've got to get out of this thing. It's a motivated seller. That's what we call these people. And they're motivated to sell this thing, but you, as the investor, when you put that thing under contract, when you put that property under contract, you said, Jeff, that you had the intent, you had the capacity, you had the resources to where you could close onto that property.
I did say that. And you know why I said that? Because if you don't have the intent, if you don't have the capacity, if you don't have the ability, if you don't have the resources, and you're going and making an offer to buy something, knowing in the back of your mind, I really can't do this, I'm going to submit to you that that's not a valid contract. You instead entered into that contract under false representations and false premises. And if you get caught, you could be exposed for committing fraud.
So,
And somebody's going to say, well, how would I ever get caught? And I will love to answer that question at the right time.
well, it's very simple. Who's going to turn you in?
The frustrated buyer because I didn't perform, a real estate agent because they saw the
frustrated seller.
Frustrated seller, thank you for correcting me. The frustrated seller because you never perform. Any of the real estate agents that see what you did to that seller, another real estate investor who realizes that you jerked that seller around, or maybe jerked them around too. Any of those people, somebody who's a family member of that seller, who said, wait a second, I thought mom and dad had that house sold to Joe Buys Houses. And after 90 days, Joe Buys Houses comes back and says, I'm sorry, I can't really buy your house.
So basically, you cannot go out there, and assignment is a very, very common way that a wholesaler would make money on a deal. However, at the same time, you cannot just go out there and put all these deals under contract and just see what sticks.
You're exactly right. That is a huge red flag in the eyes of investigators in many states as someone who is engaging in unlicensed activity and trying to circumvent the rules in their state.
Okay, so let's recap this. So the assignment, this is one of the different ways that you can wholesale. We do assignments a lot. You put a property under contract with a buyer or with a seller. Okay, you find a property at a discount, say $100,000, just to keep the math easy.
Right.
You go out there and you find somebody that is willing to pay you more for that contract.
It could be as little as $3,000 or $4,000 more,
Okay.
or it could be as someone who's willing to pay $20,000, $30,000 more.
Okay, so I find somebody that could pay $3,000 to $4,000 more, $20,000, $30,000 more. Jeff, could it be $250,000 more?
Theoretically, yes. Reality-wise, I don't think so. Not on a $100,000 house.
Right.
Reality-wise, I don't think so. I have seen large spreads, but not on $100,000 base properties.
Okay.
You're talking $1 million property, I can see a spread of over six figures easily.
Okay.
But here's what we're going back to, John. Assignments are a good tool as long as it's not the only tool in your arsenal.
That you do.
Right.
So you find a property $100,000. You put it under contract with the seller. You have full intent that you can perform on this deal or whatnot. I come into the picture, and I'm willing to pay you I want this deal. It doesn't need much work, whatever it is. I'm willing to pay you $130,000 to enter into your rights and responsibilities into that contract. You then go up there and you've got your purchase and sale contract that you have with that seller. You draft up the assignment contract that you've got.
Right, assignment of contract, yeah.
And so you assign, everything is done through, so you assign that deal over to me. Now I am responsible for that contract.
You're responsible to perform and complete that contract, yes.
Okay, so then how do I pay you the assignment fee?
There's two ways you can do it. You can collect the assignment fee in exchange for handing over the assignment of contract document, signed and notarized and witnessed, okay?
Cashier's check?
Cashier's check, cash, bank check, however you wire, whatever you want to do, okay? That's one way of doing it. The second way of doing it is you can take part of the assignment fee up front and the rest of it goes into escrow for when the assignee completes his due diligence and then performs and closes on it, and then the rest of it comes to you out of escrow, out of the closing. Because remember, for this deal to work, that house has got to be purchased. There has to be a closing. That means escrow has to open and close. Title has to change hands. There's going to be a title attorney or a title company involved somewhere.
Got it. So you get your $2,000, $3,000, $30,000 assignment
Right.
fee out of that. What do you think the best way is? I mean, for an investor, would you want your money up front? Would you want it in escrow? How would you want it?
If I'm an investor, John, that's too wide open of a question, so I'm going to have to split it in halves, okay? Split it into parts. If I'm assigning a contract and it's a couple $1,000 assignment fee, give me my money now, I'm gone.
Yep.
If I'm assigning a contract now and I'm making between $5,000 and $10,000, I want most of my money now, half now, half when you close, okay? Because I'm not gonna jam you up, You know, I'm gonna be legit because listen, if you don't really want to perform under this thing, I still got a good deal and I'm gonna finish it.
Yep.
So if I'm gonna get over $10,000, and in some areas, John, it's gonna be more than $10,000. Like, okay, for our friends in Cook County, Illinois, Chicago, otherwise, folks, $10,000 is too low of a number. You got to get much closer to $20,000. When your assignment fee when your spread is greater than that, it's time to double close that deal.
Okay.
And there's a real big reason why I want you to double close. So we'll get into that in just a minute, I'm sure.
So let's talk about it. So we've covered the assignment. Basically, you put a deal under contract, you assign your responsibility and rights
Right.
over to another buyer.
And let's drill down on that for 1 second, because the assignment of that agreement, that 1 or 2 page document that assigns the contract that says, hey, listen, I have the right to buy this house, but I'm transferring that right to buy to Joe Blow. That assignment agreement documents and evidences to whoever is handling the title and escrow, who's ever handling the closing, whatever real estate attorney, whatever title company, whatever escrow agent, and so on, shows them that now there's a new player in town. One guy has stepped out and someone else has stepped in, and that's who my new buyer is.
Yep.
And I'm now going to be contacting them to find out how they want to take title. I'm going to be contacting them about, closing protection letter. I'm going to be contacting them about, a few, like all the other 99 questions they want to ask you prior to closing. I'm going to be contacting them. And so that can work really smoothly that way, if it's neatly laid out, organized, and done. Where I've gotten involved in these deals, John, is when the underlying contract has a defect in it. Some of the underlying contracts are so defective they can't be cured. Some of the underlying contracts are defective but curable or fixable. And that's where I get involved.
So you better have a great contract.
You better have a great contract,
You know-
and you better know how to you better know how to identify the right parties in the contract.
I remember when you and I, and you probably remember this too, when we released our Wholesale Reformation training, the course that we have,
Yep.
showing investors how to, wholesale deals the profitable and the legal way. When the most popular course that we have, because we track that, the most popular, training that we have inside of that course by far is the assignment and the double close and how to do it.
It's the frickin' nitty gritty. It's where the deal actually happens and the money is made.
It's where you make the actual money on it. It was a 3-hour webinar that we did just on the assigning and the double close of this.
And here's why it went so long, okay? Here's why it went so long. Folks, I'm a lawyer. I handle real estate deals. I own a tiny piece of a title company. I know how the deal is supposed to work from the buyer's side, from the seller's side, from the title company's side, and I walk you through all of it. And John, that's why it took us that long.
Yeah.
And by the way, I also write all the contracts to do that.
Right.
And my contracts have been used by thousands of investors in tens of thousands of deals.
Yeah, they're easy. They're really easy. So that's the assignment, okay? Now, there's another part of this, which is the double close, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, amen.
Now,
Amen,
I love
amen.
these. I love these for more reason than the obvious. The reason that I love double close is because, yes, with the assignment, you don't, you see online everywhere, do you have to have a real estate license to go out there and wholesale deals? The answer is no. Do you have to have, credit to wholesale real estate deals? No, not really. Then they say, do you need to have the cash to wholesale deals? And the answer is, yeah, you kind of do, right?
You need to either have it or have access, provable access to it.
Provable access to it. So the assignment is a big thing because it's a very quick in and out of a deal, and you can make a very sizable paycheck very, very quickly.
Right. You can make a sizable check in a top couple weeks or less if you get your ducks
From a
lined
deal
up.
from start to finish.
Yep.
So you find a deal today, and in the matter of 10 days, it's more than possible.
If in scenarios, and you and I have seen them many times, you can get a deal under contract, a good deal under contract, and assign it and put thousands of dollars in your pocket in 10 days or less.
Yes. So the second way that you can wholesale real estate, which again, We do both of these, just so everybody that's listening knows. We do both of these, the assignment and the second part, which is called the double close. Now, Jeff, why don't you kind of go through and let everybody know what a double closing is on a wholesale deal?
Sure. Double closing is a term that means the following. It means that there are two transactions, two separate, independent, standalone, separately fully funded transactions that are occurring in close proximity time-wise to each other. You may want to just hit the repeat and listen to that again, folks button, because I laid down a ton of information right there. Because now, let me move on, okay? I'm giving you a chance to hit the rewind button maybe twice now to go back 20, 30, 40 seconds and listen to it again. Yeah, I know. I did that on purpose. So you've got two separate independent transactions that are occurring in close proximity to each other. They may be the same day, they may be the same week, whatever, okay? But now what you have is you now have transactions that can, for a period of time, keep private how much you paid for the house versus how much you sold the house for. So what your profit spread is. Title company's gonna know, okay, they're gonna know. But the rest of the world isn't gonna know right away. The second thing that you have is you have a legitimate transaction documented on public record, handled through a title company with title insurance involved in all likelihood, that says that you are doing this type of buying and selling for your own personal account and benefit. And when you understand what I mean when I say for your own account and for yourself, you'll understand how that action clearly demonstrates your intent and capacity to fully comply with the real estate license laws in your state and safe harbor you in that nice exemption and exception in every one of those states' laws.
So a double closing, for everybody that's listening, take the same exact numbers. $100,000 you find a property for, okay? You find a seller that's ready to sell at a discount, $100,000. You, as an investor, you are taking title to this. You are closing on this with your own funds or private funds. You're taking title to it. You own it. And then what you're doing after that is, now that you own it, then now what you're doing is you are selling this to another investor. So you're actually closing on this one. On the assignment, you don't.
Right.
On the
Absolutely.
double close, you are closing on this specific deal, and then you're reselling it to another investor. So basically, it's a transaction very, very quickly, a full transaction from start to finish very quickly.
Yeah, and I'm gonna teach a principle of real estate law right here, John. I want everybody to understand this, because when you understand this principle of real estate law that goes back hundreds of years, you then understand how you can do back-to-back or double close transactions in close proximity to each other. Title transfers and vests. Ownership of real estate changes hands upon delivery and acceptance of the written deed. The deed is the name for the piece of paper, 1 to 4 pages long, that conveys the ownership or transfers the ownership from me to John. It doesn't require recording. Some states want it recorded right away because a couple of states out there are race jurisdiction states, but let's ignore that for just this moment. But the vast majority of states in this wonderful country of ours, it's on delivery, it's on execution and delivery of the deed. So when does the seller sign the deed, signature witnessed and notarized, and when is it handed to the buyer or to the buyer's representative? Escrow agent is the buyer's representative.
Yep.
That's when title transfers. The moment title transfers, I'm now in a position where I can sell it. That could be in 30 minutes or less. That may be in 3 days. That may be in 30 days. But boom, it's happened.
So you go and you find another buyer, and then now that you own that property, you closed on it, you own it. Now you can go out there and sell it. Now
and there's so much magic that happens when you own the property that you're trying to sell.
So
instead of illegally trying to sell a house you don't own.
So here's basically, from a viewer's eyes, they're going to be like, well, why in the world would you ever double close a deal? Like, why would you ever take funds? Like, there's so many different reasons on why we do this, okay?
I'm going to flip that around, John, okay?
Yes.
I am still trying to figure out why this, and I don't know who it is, but there is some guru out there in the wholesaling space that says a wholesaler should never buy a house. And you know who told that to me? And this is not good news for this guru, and I don't know who it is. This was told to me by a lady that is one of the most influential investigators and regulators in real estate license law in America. And when she said that she heard this guy saying that and it just appalled her, made her horrified, whoever's out there saying that, good luck, you're in trouble. Because they've got your name, they've got your number, and they know you're wrong.
So for a couple of reasons, okay, let me tell you why I double close.
Well, yeah.
For multiple reasons. Number one is on the assignment, if you guys probably caught on, I don't understand why, but when you assign a deal and, it's almost like on a $100,000 deal or whatnot, it's almost impossible to make a $30,000 spread on it because the other investor that is going to be buying that contract from you and then executing on that house, they look at it in their eyes, they see it as, oh my gosh, what did you do for $30,000 in the matter of 10 days? That's how they look at it. So the number one reason that I like about double closing is because you can hide your profits. That's the number one reason. So what we do in our business is
temporarily hide your profits when it matters.
Temporarily.
When it matters.
So you can go out there and hide your profits, number one. And so here's what we do, guys. We go out there and you should typically assign all of your lower profit deals. And then anything that is a higher profit deal, you should go out there and double close it.
And here's how I tell, and John, I completely agree, and here's how I tell you to draw the line and make the distinction. Find out what it costs in closing costs to do a double close transaction. Because remember, you're going to get some economy of scale, you're going to get a discount on the title insurance premium, you're going to get some other things to go your way to lower the cost. But find out what that total cost is. Is it $3,000? Is it $6,000? Is it $9,000? Whatever is it? Unfortunately, in Cook County, Illinois, it is for some reason obscenely expensive.
It's nuts. Yeah.
It's nuts. It's stupid nuts. And I think it's because the tax man's got his hands in everybody's pockets twice. Okay? Find out what that number is, and then that's going to help you determine if I can only assign this thing for 10, or if I can double close it for 20 and I've got $6,000 in closing costs, which way am I going to go? I'm going to double close. I'm going to make an extra $4,000.
Yep.
Why would you make an extra $4,000? Well, John, let me explain this and then you're going to fill in the details. When you're double closing, you have more time to sell the house on average.
Yep.
When you have more time to sell the house, you get more market exposure. More market exposure means more buyers. More buyers means someone willing to pay a little bit more money. I'll wrap it up with this and then I'm going to turn it back over to you. I represent wholesalers. I represent and advise wholesalers all across America. Folks, whether they are in California, Florida, or in all the flyover states stacked around in this great country of ours. And the ones that have shifted more and more to the double closing for all of their deals are telling me three things. Jeff, we're making more money double closing our deals. Jeff, we're having less headache and brain damage. Jeff, we have lower transactional costs because we're doing fewer deals and making more money, which means our overhead and cost of doing business is less, and that means our bottom line is even bigger.
I'll tell you, for me personally, the reason that I love double closing is because I make more money, especially in this real estate market that we're in right now.
Yes.
The market's hot. Investors can't find deals, so they are willing to pay for them. And the beautiful thing about it is that you can hide your profits for a couple of weeks.
Right. And when you double close, your exit strategy is going to often look like a wholesale deal.
Yeah, explain that. What is wholesale?
Where it's where you buy the property, and now that you're the owner of record, you can market that property in a plethora of ways, including but not limited to putting on the MLS, where a bunch of investors who don't know any better are constantly looking every day for good deals. And all of a sudden, your good deal shows up on the MLS. It's like bait to the shark, and they come after you. And then it's a Shark Tank, and you're in control.
So let me ask you, so we've talked about the two different ways to wholesale, the assignment and the double close. We've already agreed, and everybody that is listening to this wonderful podcast that we've put together, that absolutely you should be doing both methods. You should not just be going out there and wholesaling the assignment of all these deals, or, I guess you could just double close everything. That's not a bad thing.
If you double closed everything on some deals, you'd lose money.
Oh, absolutely.
But, and I'm not saying go out and lose money, but what I'm saying is on the ones where you're not going to make any money because the closing costs are so high compared to what your assignment fee is, what your spread is, you're going to get a pass. You're not going to run into problems with regulators as long as you've got a provable, consistent track record of you actually have bought, closed, and took title to a lot of real estate.
So, Jeff, let me ask one question. You go out there and you put a property under contract for whatever the price is, it doesn't really matter. You
For
find
a good deal price, yes.
A good deal price. You put it under contract, you execute on this, so you close on it with private funds, your funds, or whatever it might be. So you execute on it, you own it. It hasn't changed, now you typically will have a couple of weeks where they're going to record the title of this, and then it's going to show up onto the county auditor website and whatnot that you own this property. The question is for you, and I already know the answer to it, but there's a couple of weeks. Does that mean that you have to wait, that you really don't own it for that couple of weeks, or can you, now that you've actually closed on it, do you have to wait that couple of weeks to go out there and sell that house because it hasn't showed up on the county website yet?
Absolutely no, you do not have to wait that couple of weeks. Remember what I told you. Real estate changes hands. Ownership vests upon execution and delivery of the deed. That means that once you can prove that the deed has been executed and handed to you, and you got a copy of it, and it might take 10 days for it to get recorded and show up on public record, that's 10 days you still own the property. That's 10 days that you're responsible for the real estate taxes. That's 10 days that you better have the house insured.
Yep.
Okay? You can do whatever you want to market and sell that house for 10 days.
Yep.
You do not have to wait.
Jeff, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, see, we do all different parts of real estate in my business. We do close to 200 deals a year. We wholesale deals, and then we also rehab deals. By far, my favorite transaction to do is wholesale. By far, because it's, you can make a very large amount of money very quickly on these. You don't have to really have any, you don't have much risk involved with these deals, so I like it like that. And you can make a boatload of money wholesaling real estate. There's a lot of investors throughout the entire country that they choose that, wholesaling is going to be one of their main strategies, whether they're going to do the assignment or whether they do the double close. Both strategies are absolutely phenomenal. You can make a large amount of profit into a year.
Using them together.
Using them together and kind of structuring deals that way. Now, here's where it gets hairy. I see investors. I know there's a right way to wholesale and then there's a wrong way to wholesale. Both methods. Okay, there's a wrong way to go out there and double close deals, I guess you'd say, and then there's a very, very wrong, nasty way to assign deals. That is putting people in danger. And I'll tell you, I know the right ways to do it. I've listened to you. We've masterminded around this a lot. I obviously use all the documents that you created into my business and so forth. But at the same time, there's a lot of investors that are doing very wrong things wholesaling.
Absolutely, and regrettably, the vast majority of the stuff that's being done wrong is in the assignment space, not in the double closing space.
So, is this a big deal? So, let's say that, is this a big deal? Let's say that, they don't have their ducks in a row. They bought a wrong course that showed them how to wholesale, and they think that they're doing everything wrong. They listen to this podcast. Maybe they get our course or whatever it might be, and they realize, oh my gosh, I have been wholesaling wrong, illegally, for the past whatever time it is.
Okay, so for that person that's got that sick feeling in the pit of your stomach right now listening to this, because that's who you are, let's be honest, because I know it's you, because I've talked to a lot of you. My heart goes out to you. Yeah, you've got to make some changes.
Well, what,
And we can fix it and show you how to make those changes. And we do a lot of that, John, through Wholesale Reformation. And we're going to give away a lot of that stuff in future podcasts as well. Because we're just going to, I want people to do it right. I have built a national reputation as being an expert on the right way to wholesale and comply with state rules.
So, dude, this is a phenomenal. This is a phenomenal podcast because not only are we showing, and don't get me wrong, guys, wholesaling is by far one of the best strategies for real estate investors.
Yes, for beginning and intermediate real estate investors. And
Same
even
thing with those established, though,
an
because
established investor who has a little bit of a wholesale business running on the side, I'm great with, okay?
Yep.
But remember, John, the name of the game as a real estate investor is to build wealth. You build wealth by acquiring cash flow producing assets that are debt free.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to say that again. The name of the game is to build wealth. You build wealth by acquiring cash flow producing assets that are debt free.
Yep.
Somebody's going to freak out on that last part where I say they're debt free. I'm going to tell you, listen, if I've got a cash flow producing asset and I don't want to risk it anymore and I want to make sure I keep it for myself and my family and my future generations, I don't want debt on it. There's not a quant out there, there's not a mathematical genius out there that can create a formula that can identify and quantify and calculate and measure the risk that's involved with a property that is leveraged or in debt. You can't do it. Wall Street blew that up in 2008 and no one's fixed it. They're only making it worse.
So let me ask the very, very simple question.
And wholesaling keeps you out of debt, by the way. So that's
Absolutely.
another reason I love wholesaling.
Absolutely. It's like the best strategy. So there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. Let's say that, number one, everybody that's listening, guys, in these show notes that we're going to give today, you should absolutely go out there and take our quiz. Take the wholesaling quiz to see if you are doing this the right and the legal way. See if, maybe you've taken a course into the past or maybe you haven't. But you should go and take the quiz to see how many answers you get right. There's not that many questions, but they're questions that will let you know if you're thinking about this or you've done this the right way or the wrong way, and if you've got a target on your back or if you don't. Okay? It's that simple. So, Jeff, just give me one example. Let's say somebody was going out there and they were assigning deals the wrong way. They were taught the wrong way to assign deals. What could happen to them? Wait, let's just start with this.
I'm going to give them a happier scenario, not a worse scenario.
Okay.
So that that sick feeling in the pit of your stomach, folks, it could be worse than what I'm telling you now. It depends on what state you're doing this in. If you're out there trying to assign deals the way a lot of gurus have taught you to do it in the wholesaling space, trying to market, I'm going to use the word pimp or push houses that you don't own, in a state that's easier and softer on you for making those mistakes, it could only cost you thousands of dollars per day. It won't involve a criminal prosecution, it won't involve jail, and it won't involve a potential felony. In some of the worst states out there, it will cost you thousands of dollars per day and possibly a felony conviction.
Give me an example of thousands of dollars per day. Let's say it's $1,000 a day if somebody was caught doing it illegally. Let me give you an example. Let's say, and so how can this even come to be? Let's say you're this wholesaler that's going out there and you're putting a lot of deals under contract and you're not executing on those contracts from those sellers, and let's say that it just takes one seller, you don't execute on one, they go to your division of real estate in your state and they turn your name in, or it could be a realtor, it could be another investor, whoever it is, and just say, I had this property under contract and they didn't execute on this, so now the division of real estate is probably going to open up a case and they're going to start looking at how I'm wholesaling. That's how it can happen, right?
Exactly, and then once they take a look at that, they're going to go online, they're going to either check you out on social media, they're going to find your website, and they're going to take a screenshot of the stupid stuff, the illegal stuff, the wrong stuff that you've got up there on the internet. And once they've screenshotted it and they hand it over to investigations, it's only a matter of time until you're in trouble.
So,
and I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to give you a very specific example. You can have a website up there where you're showing pictures of the 25 different houses that you currently have under contract to buy.
yep.
And they're going to screenshot all 25 of them, and they're going to have the date that they're there. And as part of their investigation, they're going to come back to you and they're going to look at you and they're going to go, Mr. Wholesaler, on October 10th, 2017, you advertised these 25 houses for sale. Can you show me the deeds whereby you held title to them? And you're not going to have any deeds. They're going to say, Mr. Wholesaler, can you show me where you had enough money on deposit in your bank, on a line of credit, or in committed loan approvals from private lenders to fund the acquisition of all 25 of those houses? And you're not going to have it. And at that point in time, folks, you will have two massive holes in your boat rapidly sinking to the bottom of the ocean, and you are out of business, gone out.
So this whole business of real estate where we all get in for freedom, we all get in here for wealth, just by doing it the wrong and stupid way, could all be gone, taken away from them, just like that.
Just like that.
So,
But it doesn't have to be that way.
correct. So the whole moral of this, and again, why we're doing this episode is because, we want to show you guys that there's two different ways to wholesale. There's the assignment, and then there's the double close. Both of them perfectly legal. You better do them the right way, and really that comes down to you better sell these things the right way. You better advertise these things the right way. The best thing to do, guys, is just go and take our quiz. Go and take the quiz.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're doing it the right way. Make sure that you understand this the right way. And you will see it directly on there. So, Jeff, is there any other closing statements that you want to give for anybody on the line other than just do this the right way? Wholesaling is by far one of the best strategies for real estate investors to get quick cash inside of your bank account. Anything else?
If you have any doubt at all about any aspect of your business, are you getting properties, are you getting deals, are you finding and sourcing deals the right way? Are you getting them under contract the right way? Are you using a good contract? Do you have the right processes and systems in place for getting the deals, putting them under contract? Do you know how to properly advertise a deal that's available for assignment? Do you know how to set up and handle a double closing? If you have any doubt about doing any of that, take the quiz, learn more about what John and I are giving away, teaching you and sharing for free. Get that information from us, whether it's through the quiz and the webinars, whether it's through more podcasts, whether it's through stuff we have on social media. Just absorb it all until you feel comfortable, until you feel confident, until that gnawing question, that problem in the pit of your stomach goes away. Don't ignore that warning bell. Don't ignore that thing that God gave you called your conscience that emanates somewhere down in the stomach area. Don't ignore it. Pay attention to it.
Yeah, guys, this has been a crazy, powerful podcast that we've done. This is episode number 4, and I'll tell you, I love wholesaling. It's one of the best strategies for real estate investors, in my personal opinion. Just do it the right way. Do it the right way. Do it the legal way, and that's exactly what you want to do. So all you got to do is go to wholesalereformation.com, download these show notes, and the way to do that is go onto the website. You will see it up at the top. You'll see podcast, and click on podcast. You will see this episode, which is episode number 4, which is there are 2 different ways to wholesale real estate, and you will see that. And then it's very, very simple. You will see the show notes, download that, and you'll be able to, on that page, you'll be able to take the quiz to see if you're doing this the right way and the legal way. So this has been a great, phenomenal podcast. And future podcasts, we're going to talk about what is so illegal that investors are doing. So you know that you're doing this the right way and the profitable way. Because I can tell you this, and I want to end with this. When you wholesale the legal way, it's more profitable. Period.
Amen.
Period.
Peace. I'm out.
See you guys. Win. And I mean you want to win big. You master getting deals from relationships and you get done with follow-up systems. There's not another podcast out there as powerful as this Real Estate Investor Playbook. It doesn't exist.